Hello, Sitaram, and good morning, and welcome again to this second part of this program this morning. I'm Ram Naresh Dwarika, and we are talking about addiction and recovery, more so about understanding the nature of this condition, because a misunderstanding or not fully appreciating the nature of alcoholism and drug addiction could lead to a lot of frustration. I've seen that in my practice, you know, where family members and all of that, and siblings, colleagues, and so on, they become frustrated after failed attempts on the part of the person they're trying to help. So again, let me just repeat, you know, drinking alcohol or using drugs is only one of the symptoms of the illness. What are some of the other symptoms? Some of the other symptoms are low self-esteem, poor coping skills, inability to postpone gratification, procrastination. Then you reach to a point where you have lost so much that one loses the motivation. It's called a motivational syndrome, and it's especially peculiar to people who smoke marijuana and so on, where, like we say in Trinidad, Sunday could fall on Monday now, they don't really care. And I've heard addicts say, well, look, I don't even have a parrot on a stick. So what's the point in staying sober now? I've lost everything. And I'm saying all of that to say that, look, that is the nature of this disease. That is where it will take you. And so that a lot of people who might have started off drinking recreationally out of curiosity, enjoying themselves without realizing it, they start becoming dependent. And in recovery circles, in treatment and rehab, we recognize that a lot of people over the years, they start self-medicating with alcohol and drugs. Because let me give you a scenario. The first line of defense that people, first option here in Trinidad, and I would say in other parts of the world, is someone presenting with an addiction problem will not only be seen to not be able to control their drinking or drug use. There's a whole basket of other problems that could offshoot from addiction. You have legal problems, you have behavioral problems, you'll have health problems, you'll have problems of behavior, um, productivity, and a whole lot of things. And so that usually the persons come to the attention of the various authorities, the social services or the police services, or because of some other problem sometimes. And their root problem, the drinking and the drug use, sometimes is not even recognized. And I can tell you that in Jamaica, when I did my research there, I tried to get statistics on alcoholism in Jamaica and could find very little, as though there were no alcoholics in Jamaica. And it was because a lot of people will present to the emergency with a broken arm, a broken leg, or some wound or accident. And that is what will be recorded on their file. There will be very little reference to alcoholism or drug use. You understand? So this is how as a result, there isn't a full understanding even among professionals about the nature of this disease. So that we take let's suppose I have a sibling who is alcoholic. One of the problems he's going to have is he suffer with insomnia because alcohol is uh, a sedative. And after a while of depending on it, if he don't take a drink, he can't sleep. Then he will have the shakes. He may start to hallucinate. And once that starts to happen, he's going to end up by the psychiatrist. And I mean, psychiatrists in Trinidad and Tobago have been doing a wonderful job. I have many, many friends having worked in the field at St. Anne's and Cowra and Waddy and all of that. And they're doing a wonderful job. But there's a limitation to what psychiatrists can do because they would generally, and not some people don't even go to a psychiatrist, they may go to the general practitioner, their family doctor, who they have a better relationship with. And he would prescribe something to tide them over. Usually, If they say they're not sleeping, no, they can't sleep, they have the shakes and all of that, he may prescribe a sedative. I don't want to call the names because people in Trinidad will run off and bite now. And, or if he presented as a psychiatrist, he will be put on some psychotropic drug. And these drugs are highly addictive. In a matter of days, you can become dependent on them because, okay, if you were depending on alcohol to put you to sleep, I know you're trying to stop or whatever, and you're hallucinating. You go to the psychiatrist, you will be put on a sedative. And yes, they will tell you. Sometimes they will say, look, I'm only giving you this for a week because it's highly addictive. But after a week, what happens? This guy has become dependent. He just switched from liquid sedative to solid sedative. If nothing else is done to help him to learn how to deal with the depression, the anxiety, the insomnia, and all of that that is produced by the drug, or which may have led him to use the drug and self-medicate, if nothing is done with that, about that, if he's not taught how to sleep without a drug, if he's not weaned off it gradually, we are literally setting him up for failure because it is a very, very painful thing. Or anyone listening out there who has not had a few nights sleep because of some traumatic situation will know what I'm talking about. This is why the old saying, I never fully appreciated it when I heard it as a young man, that sleep is golden. But now I understand why sleep is golden. If you don't sleep for a night or two, you're a mess, especially if you have a job or that you have to go to that demands or requires a lot of concentration and all of that. So, and let me put another perspective. A lot of people who are depressed or anxious, they look for anything that could help them to sleep. And why? Because sleep is the one effective way to escape depression, to escape anxiety, to escape the stress of the situational problem that they are facing. And so that a lot of people, that those are also reasons why a lot of people will gravitate to sedatives, sleeping pills, and alcohol, because alcohol does the same thing. Now, I have met in my practice here quite a number of young people going to university and all of that, doing very well, but having sleep problems because, let's take a scenario. We all have what is called a biological clock that makes us feel sleepy at a certain time. But if we keep changing the time, it happens with shift workers, people who now have to wake in the night and sleep in the day, or students who eventually start staying up late till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning because they have deadlines to meet with their papers that they need to present or study and all of that. And okay, I see we have a caller online. Shall we take this caller? Hello? Hello?
From La Romaine.
Yes?
Um, I'm just looking at today's daily reflection.
Yes.
Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. This
Right.
is something I have tried to incorporate in my daily life.
Right.
And it gives me that sense of satisfaction and peace of mind to
Right.
help me to continue to enjoy my sobriety.
Right.
Mr. You have been an inspiration to me, as well as my father, who you knew, and I will continue to carry the words of Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for calling. These little snippets, gives us the encouragement that I know people out there listening. They identifying with what we are speaking about here, and they too are part of the team of reaching out to help people out there with their drinking and drug problems. So as I was saying, yeah, a lot of people eventually start becoming dependent on the drug to help them to deal with anxiety, to help them to deal with depression, to help them to deal with low self-esteem and all of that. And I was speaking about university students because I don't mean to scapegoat them, but I've seen quite a number of young men who now, of necessity, had to disturb their normal sleeping pattern. And now they're having trouble to reestablish a sleeping pattern because you have to, even if you wake up to 4 in the morning, you have to be up and go to classes. And you have to stay awake if you're going to benefit from what is happening in the class. So it's really become a challenge. And so a lot of these people who might have gone out to take a drink with their friends during the Easter break or the summer break and so on, and were introduced to alcohol, especially in upper middle class societies, there's always alcohol. People have their private bars, and children are seeing that's the way to entertain and would have been introduced to alcohol, realize, hey, I could take this and it will help me to sleep. In fact, I have a doctor that I'm treating who, during his days as a student, medical student, started to take a drink to help him to sleep and then became dependent and realized, no, 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 when I take the drink to sleep, I next day, I have a smell and I have to deal with all the withdrawal. And when you're working in the field of medicine, you are aware of what is available. And so there's a very high incidence of dependence among people who work in the medical fraternity. I worked in the medical fraternity myself. However, there's a very strong reluctance for people, professionals like these, nurses, doctors, and so on, to go and seek help because you are supposed to be knowledgeable about these things and you are supposed to be able to help other people. It's a very ego deflating proposition for a professional like myself and other people to go to someone and say, look, I can't handle my stories, and I've been taking these medication. And so a lot of people struggle with it by trying to wean themselves, vary it, go to lesser strong doses, a whole lot of things, and keep failing. As the parents yesterday I spoke with realized that this is what is happening to their child. You know, he's trying. Obviously, he's trying. But if the depression, if the anxiety, if the loneliness, if the and every human being will have a different level of coping ability. There are some things, some people can cope very easily and say, but that's not a big thing. That will not cause me to drink. Well, yes, for you. But the same thing will be different to another person. They're coming from a different perspective. There are some people who have a problem dealing with rejection. There are people who have problem dealing with estrangement. There are people who having problem with foreclosure and not inability to meet their mortgage payments, the prospect of losing their car or their house. So it is easy for any one of us sitting to judge another person and say, but we can't see why. I mean, he went to school. He has so much knowledge. Look, his brothers and sisters are doing so well. What's wrong with him? He just hardened, or so we think. But no, we don't know what is going on in this person's mind, how they have been able to cope, the intensity with which they feel. So someone has to be able to sit and speak with them. So generally, the same advice I gave to the parents yesterday, I will share it with people listening out there. One is just attending meetings. The old timers will tell people who just come and sit in the benches in the school and say, well, yes, I attend AA meetings. What would happen? All will happen after any amount of years is just the seat of your pants will wear off from sitting there, attending the meeting is not sufficient. Although attending the meeting is critical, so you hear other people, you keep an open mind, you are able to identify with what they are saying, and as a result, you will hear in those meetings of so many people who thought they could make it on their own and who have relapsed several times. And then they will tell you what happened when they relapsed. It was several times worse than when they were drinking initially. And hopefully, you listening to them, you will learn from their experience. So you don't have to go out there and make the same mistakes. You remember, John Brown said he was sober for 3 months and then he thought he could handle it, or something happened between him and his employer, and he got so angry he walked out and take a drink. Or he was going to the meeting and he figured, well, look, that wasn't helping him, so he didn't need to go. So people have all kinds of misconceptions. This is why it is critical for especially members of AA to find a sponsor in the initial period of their sobriety. Because when these questions come up, a sponsor is not like in other organizations where they pay your fee and fill out a form for you to join. No. A sponsor is like a mentor in AA. They use the word sponsor, maybe colloquially, but the sponsor is really a person who has been sober for quite a period, who has a working knowledge of the program and who can keep confidences and so on. And so that the new person is well advised when you go first join a group, become a member of a group, whether it be online or physical meeting, because when you join a group, you feel a sense of belonging. When you don't attend, you would have built relationships with other people there who might come and say, "But John, I ain't seen you in the meeting, boy, what's happening?" They look for you. More so, they'll when you become a member of a group, you will within 3 months, sometimes you get a responsibility to either be the coffee man or to do something in the group, secretary or chair meeting. And these responsibilities not only boost your low self-esteem and your confidence, but also makes you become part of a group that is caring and nurturing and supportive. And belonging to a group also allows you, if you want to help other people, you would be able to now take them to your group. You understand? A group experience is different. This is why, in Trinidad, we say friends could carry, but they don't bring you back. But in this sense, friends could encourage you to drink, but so too friends in AA, sober people, can also help you to stop. So going to meetings, getting the numbers of a few people in your group, join a group, take responsibility, right? Attend as regularly as you can so that you can learn as quickly as possible so that you don't go and relapse. Besides, human beings, we are gregarious. You know, we can't deal with loneliness. And so a person who has been drinking regularly, most people, I know some people become isolated drinkers, you know, and um, and they drink by themselves, but most people drink in company with other people. So when they stop, they become very lonely. And loneliness is one of those issues. Now, I know we are quick on time, and yes, one of my watches saying 9:57 and the other is saying 9:50. Yeah. So that, yes, loneliness becomes an issue. And this especially why they should go to a meeting. They should go to meeting, make friends in this new environment, take responsibility, get a sponsor. For those who are not going to AA and want to do this on their own, please find someone, go to counseling and follow the advice of your counselor. I know a lot of people don't want to go to AA initially. There's a reluctance there. But go to your counselor, go to your professional. And in Trinidad, we have a number of treatment facilities which have been found to be useful, especially in the initial stage. You can go to the meeting, you can go to the treatment facility and you can get help. So we are going to stop there for today, and maybe next week we could continue this discussion. In the meantime, anyone who has any questions, you can call me at 671-3040, 671-3040, or you can put your comments on the YouTube channel, which I'm going to post in a little while. So thank you all again for joining me and listening to the program. And until next week, good morning and have a pleasant day. Thank you.